jurisdiction du 42.
Oui, non, tu peux. La seule affaire que tu peux shooter, c'est des chevreuils s'ils font du dommage à ton terrain.
Ah, OK.
Tu peux shooter quasiment n'importe quoi, à part un orignal.
Ah, ouais.
Tu peux shooter un chevreuil, un orque, tu peux shooter le chien du voisin.
Ouais.
Tu peux pas shooter un orignal.
C'est vrai.
Ouais.
Pas légalement.
Pas légalement.
Ben, moi, comme tu dis, là, ce serait quasiment direct au porch, là. Non.
Ouais.
Ben,
Oops.
you gotta-
Okay, 1 minute to go, I guess.
Yes, I know Mr. Fisher's still trying to get his
Okay, we'll
himself
give it.
sorted out, but we have quorum. We can always proceed.
Soon.
Les 5 orignales sont pas prêts. Je m'ai piqué l'année passée. Le 2.
Okay, I guess I'll call the meeting to order. Any declaration of pecuniary interest? Hearing none, we'll go on to adopting the agenda. Could I have a mover and seconder, please? Moved by Roger, seconded by Fern.
It is moved by Roger Gagnon and seconded by Fern Pellerin. Be it resolved that the agenda for the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on October the 17th, 2022 be adopted as presented.
Everybody in favor? Carried. And now we'll go on, I'll go on. Okay. Adoption of the minutes, a mover seconder, please. Moved by Fern, seconded by Chris.
It is moved by Fern Pellerin and seconded by Chris Fisher. Be it resolved that the minutes of the Committee of Adjustment meeting held on September the 11th, 2022 be adopted as presented.
Everybody in favor? Carried. Now, before we go on to item 5, welcome, bonsoir tout le monde. I'll explain now the process. The municipal planning clerk presents the application. If there's a consultant, he's invited to make comments on it, or the municipal planner will do it. And then the members discuss the issue between themselves, and if the applicant is here, they might ask that person some question regarding the application. And then it's open to the public. Anybody who wants to comment on an application, please state your name and address, because the municipal planner keeps a record of everybody that has spoken at the meeting. Now, I'll say it in French for those that might not understand English. La réunion est conduite en anglais, mais si vous avez des questions que vous ne comprenez pas, s'il vous plaît, le mentionner, on va le traduire en français pour vous. Le meeting se déroule de manière suivante. C'est que la personne en charge de la planification municipale présente le sujet. S'il y a un consultant, il va ajouter des détails. Les membres du comité vont en discuter, demander des questions pour éclaircir certains sujets, et ensuite c'est ouvert au plancher. S'il vous plaît, mentionnez votre nom et adresse, parce que toutes discussions sont enregistrées et ça protège vos droits si vous n'êtes pas satisfait avec le procédé. Now we'll go on to the applications themselves. 5.1 C64/22 Reseptic Services. And I'll need a proposer moved by Roger, seconded by Fern.
It is moved by Roger Gagnon and seconded by Fern Pellerin. Be it resolved that a consent application made by Raise Septic Services Limited for the creation of a new lot at 180 Shoreline Road in the West Nipissing Municipality be approved in the following conditions: that a reference plan be prepared and deposited in the Land Registry Office, confirmation all property taxes paid to date, all conditions be met on or before October 18th, 2024. Transfer deed be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer. In the event that any portion of the municipally maintained and traveled road located on either side of the severed or retained lands at 10 meters from center line be surveyed and transferred to the West Nipissing Municipality. That a concurrent severance application to amend the zoning from concurrent application to amend the zoning from M3 heavy industry to RR rural residential be approved, and that a record of site condition be obtained and filed with the Ministry of the Environment, Conservation and Parks.
Madam Planner, should we deal with both applications at the same time? You
We
said
only
there's
have one.
We don't have one. Okay,
We dealt with the other one at the previous meeting.
that's right. Sorry.
So the purpose of this meeting, through you, Mr. Chair, the purpose of this meeting is to sever one lot off of property located at 180 Shoreline Road. You'll see this is the property on, can you see? The property is located here. The retained portion, you'll see there's an area of extraction down here to which the condition regarding the record of site condition is relating to, because there is an existing pit on the property. The severed area is 1.79 hectares, has more than sufficient frontage and lot area to meet the requirements of the bylaw for rural residential uses.
Mr. Miller, do you have anything to add?
No, it's as we talked about in the previous meeting, the record of site condition is we've already contracted and will prepare that. And the purpose is to create one rural residential lot.
Any question or comment from the members? Any question or comments from the general public? Okay, thank you. Therefore, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented, carried. Now we'll go on to C65/22, Real Marlowe, Sandy Island. Could I have a proposer, please, and seconder? Moved by Mr. Fisher, seconded by Mr. Fern Pellerin.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Fern Pellerin that a consent application made by Rael Marlowe for the creation of new lots on Sandy Island in the municipality of West Nipissing is approved in the following conditions: that a reference plan be prepared and deposited, all property taxes be paid to date, all conditions met on or before October 18th, 2024, transfer deed be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer, and that the severed lands be rezoned to shoreline residential and the retained lands rezoned to RU. Through you, Mr. Chair, this application is part two of the one we saw the first part at the previous meeting. You'll see the property is located, this is all of Sandy Island, and there is actually a mapping error which has been addressed with MPAG. The actual owner's property really only goes to where the hand is here. The rest of the land is actually parkland, just a mapping error. But in any event, on the sketch, you'll see this is one of these small lots here. This is the severed one here that is proposed to be severed into two residential lots in the retained portion. The proposed residential lots are to be rezoned to shoreline residential to reflect both the use and the lot size being proposed. The balance of the lands being rezoned to RU rural, which to reflect the proposed uses intended and the size of the lot.
Okay, Mr. Goodrich, do you have any additional information?
Nothing, just to state that we're well in excess of the minimum frontages and areas, and it's just to create cottage lots on Sandy Island, which is the primary use for lands on Sandy Island.
Okay, any question or comment? Yes, Mr. Pellerin?
Just one question for Melanie. When you say parkland, is it privately owned or
No, it's Crown.
crown land? Oh, it's crown, okay. Yep.
Any other question or comments from the members? Hearing none, I'll call it on the public attending. Anybody has any question or comments? Hearing none, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented? Carried. Now we'll go on to C66/22, Jocelyn Gervais. Mover and seconder, moved by Roger, seconded by Fern.
It is moved by Roger Gagnon, seconded by Fern Pellerin, that a consent application made by Jocelyn Gervais for the creation of a new lot at 29 2nd Street in the municipality of West Nipissing is approved in the following conditions: that a reference plan is prepared and deposited, the confirmation taxes are paid to date, conditions be met before October 18th, 2024, that a transfer deed be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer, and that a 3-meter frontage easement along Second Street across the entire parcel, both severed and retained, be registered on title to the subject property. The owner applicant will be responsible for all legal and survey costs. The easement is in favor of Greater Sudbury Utilities.
And that is Mr. Miller. And I have a question to you. Like the jog and the line there, that's following the existing fence, I guess, and to go around that building?
But it goes around, there's a deck there that is going to be kept on the retained parcel.
So that's why you have this.
That's correct.
Okay. So I guess you're not aware, like Mr. Goodrich knows that Norm likes straight lines.
Yeah, in
I have
most
to ask
cases,
you.
we do too. However, I mean, this has all been one property for
Many years,
decades. And the retained, it will be the vacant side and
And I believe the proposed severance line is right on top of an existing fence, right?
yeah, there is a fence part way. It shows there as a post and lattice fence along the side of the house, yes.
So I guess I will make my standard a bit lower, and since it's an existing situation.
I apologize, it is not existing, it's a temporary fence I put up so I get used to seeing 2 separate lots from the house. I belong on the empty one now.
Oh, you're the,
It is to practice.
what was practice?
To separate something that's been there for 72 years.
Oh, okay, so we'll respect the 72-year practice. Okay, any question or comments from the members? I guess no other comments, ma'am. So I therefore call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented, carried. So it's done, Madame. This is Jocelyne Gervais.
Jocelyne de Gimbal-Gervais.
Ouais, c'est complété.
Merci.
Bienvenue. We'll go on to item 4, C67/22, with Pye and Angèle Aubin. And mover and seconder, please. Mr. Fisher and Mr. Roger.
Thank you, Gary.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Roger Gagnon that a consent application made by Wade Pye and Angèle Arcan for the creation of new lots at 72 Bear Lake Road in the West Nipissing Municipality be approved on the following conditions: that a reference plan be prepared, the taxes be paid to date, the conditions be met before October 18th, a transfer deed be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer, and that the severed lands be rezoned from shoreline residential to rural residential. Through you, Mr. Chair, this property is located on Bear Lake Road at the corner of Bear Lake Road. And I guess it's Bear Lake Road, and it goes up, and Lakeview goes up to the left, and Bear Lake Road goes around heading towards Sunny Ridge. So this is the north-south portion of Bear Lake Road. This portion of the road was already deeded to the municipality on the prior severance. You'll recall the prior severance was to separate this portion of the land from this portion of the land. And there is a registered easement to the owners down here, a right-of-way across the property. What's being proposed is 3 new lots on the south portion of the property, south of the right-of-way, each of the lot being in excess of the frontage and area required. The entire lot, because it fronts on Bear Lake Road, is zoned shoreline residential. So these lots will need to be rezoned to rural residential as they have no frontage on the lake and just have frontage on Bear Lake Road. So that's that.
Any further comments, Mr. Goodrich?
Number one, thank you for being consistent, Mr. Miller, and not letting them away with it. Secondly, I'm here this evening with Mr. Wade Pye and Ms. Angèle Aubin. They're creating these 3 lots for their 3 children. that is the purpose for the severances. And as Melanie had pointed out, they each have at least the minimum or well in excess of the minimum frontage and are almost twice the minimum area for each of them. So if there's any other questions, happy to try to answer them.
Yeah, and like, personally, I do favor family support, so. Yes, the members have any question or comments?
No.
And there, Mr. Fisher, none. So I guess, and no other comments from the public? Hearing none, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented, carried. So that's it.
You're good.
Yeah, and if you have any question, then Melanie will be pleased to help you out completing everything. Now we'll go on to C 68/180. She did, she already has the map up. So I need a mover and seconder for this item. Moved by Mr. Rogers, second by Mr. Byrne.
It is
Where's
moved by
our-
Roger Gagnon and seconded by Fern Pelleday. Be it resolved that a consent application made by Gary Fryer for a lot addition at 657 East Road in the West Nipissing Municipality be approved in the following conditions. That a reference plan be prepared, the taxes be paid, the conditions be met before October 18th, that a transfer deed be submitted, and that 10 meters from center line of any portion of the municipally maintained road located on the property be surveyed and conveyed to the municipality, and that a PIN consolidation be registered in the land registry office in order to consolidate the lot addition lands with the lands to which they're being added. So here we are at the corner of East Road and Morley's Road. And Morley's Road is also known as Friars Road or Morley's Road. And you'll see there's two little lots in each corner of the property. One of these little lots is having 0.27 of a hectare added onto it. So all we're doing is making this lot, this wee lot here, a little bit bigger.
So any comments from?
The only, no, it's a lot addition severance for making a little over a half acre, 3/4 of an acre lot, a little bit bigger, doubling the size essentially. The only request I would have is just in the conditions about the survey of the municipal roads. The municipal road on the south, the east road, we were having to reestablish those boundaries and the concession line in that location in order to be able to survey the lot addition piece. Morley Road, on the other hand, runs up and from the other map that Melanie showed, you could get that one right there. You can
Doesn't go
see it
that
kind
far.
of dead ends at that half lot line between the north and south half of the lot. But up above that as well, all that white, I believe, is all crown land. So the costs of reestablishing that lot line are going to be prohibitive just for a lot addition severance. So we would request that the condition simply read that we transfer any portion of East Road to the municipality. We'll assess it if we can do it in a cost-effective manner, but the cost of surveying Morley Road is going to be greatly in excess of the cost of surveying the lot addition piece.
So Morley Road, does it give access to anybody at that point?
I believe that there, and I'm not sure if there is a driveway off Morley. I'm assuming so.
There is.
Otherwise, okay. And is it for the people to the west
Yes,
or is it on the retained lands?
there's one dwelling on the west side or one property on the west side that's accessed by that dead end of Morley's Road.
Right. So,
So that would be what, way up at the half mile,
half a mile up and it would only be of benefit to the neighbor to the west. So,
oh my God.
like I say, if we get out there and there's enough evidence that we can do it in a cost-effective manner, but otherwise it's just, it would be very cost prohibitive to have to survey that section of road that we don't even front on.
Is that a publicly maintained road, that portion, or is it a road board?
It is
Or
indeed.
It is a public road
It is a public
and
road.
maintained by the municipality.
I see your point, but, okay,
And like I say, if it was for a new lot creation or like the last people where we were creating 3 lots, and especially if they were to be listed for sale, obviously that's part of the cost of doing business. In this case, it's simply a lot addition. So
but,
we're making an undersized
But-
lot.
yeah. Bigger, I fully appreciate that. Okay, let's see if we can negotiate something here. Yes, Mr.
This-
Rogers.
Well,
For you,
with
Mr.
the,
Chair, I'm just gonna show you, I pulled it, I'm gonna pull it up on the screen so that the members
we-
can
yeah,
see
we
what
see
the
something.
property looks like. Just gonna pull it up. So this is the East Road. This is Morley's Road. The municipality maintains it to right here.
Hey,
It's actually a property on the east side that is accessed. I see that. There's nothing on the west side.
mhm.
But
No, it's
even-
on, that's on the west side, because the road is road. Oh, let me. Yeah,
East is at the
West.
bottom?
once
This
we
is the
get-
lot we're adding on to right here. This
Yeah.
little lot here is the one that we're, so basically these trees here will become part of this property here.
right. Okay, so.
the question I had was, when you, with that lot addition, what is the total size of that new lot that you're creating?
If each are 0.27, it'd be 0.54 of an acre, so it'd be almost, or of a hectare.
Of a hectare.
I'm sorry.
Okay,
So it would be almost an acre and a half.
okay,
0.6 of a hectare would be an acre and a half.
okay.
But even though the road doesn't go the entire half mile, it is a run line in the original survey, way back in 1880 or whenever it was.
Mhm.
Now, if
About
there's no
188
occupation,
meters.
yeah, if there is no occupational evidence though of the lot line between lot 8 and lot 9, it means we have to go the mile to the northwest corner of the lot and see if there's any evidence of the original post there. If there isn't, then we either go another mile to the north again, or we start going half miles east and west. And it's all dense bush, it's all crown above that. So the chances of there being, survey evidence up there left from 1870, 1880 is probably pretty slim. And that's why we're saying it's going to be so cost prohibitive just for the sake of a
But can you,
lesser.
okay, at East Road, at the intersection, because you'll be doing the East Road portion, right?
Can you show us?
Yep.
I'm a little confused
So,
as
you
to
are-
where the,
So you'll be putting what here?
where's the problem with the surveying?
With the surveying, it's,
This one here.
it's this one here. So
Okay.
if we have, if there's fencing, if there's fencing between the lines, then we can use the old fence as best
Yeah.
evidence of the original.
Yeah, and
We may, once we get out there and assess it, the road itself may be best evidence of the line between
yeah,
the two.
that's what I was going to suggest. If you can put your 2 pins at the East Road, on the east and west side of that road, then just follow
But,
just follow the existing road.
stop that, stop.
Because you only have to go, a couple of feet there or whatever.
Well, it's about a quarter mile up now, but it all comes down to survey.
No, but I
evidence.
mean,
Um,
usually you only survey the portion in front of the property we're
Yes.
dealing with.
Yes.
Mr.
and-
Chair?
That would be only 45 meters.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah, yes, I'm listening to you, Madame Clerk.
I think what Mr. Goodrich is trying to state is it's not the length of the portion of the road that is at question. It's that in order to survey it, he has to establish the location of that road. He has to establish that intersection. And there's not a lot of survey evidence around there to establish that intersection. So he may have to go 3 or 4 miles to the north to
No, I
find
don't,
a point to start at, because they have to start at something that's known and work their way backward.
yeah, I don't fully understand that, but I'm trying to go the reverse way. If you start with East Road, you have, you know where the markers are at both ends.
Yes, East Road isn't the issue.
Yeah.
East Road will formally.
So what I'm getting
survey
at,
part.
if you set your point of startup at the intersection of, yeah, right there,
East and Moreland.
at more in there, and then just follow the road that exists.
Can't do that.
And use
that
it.
works.
Yeah, follow the fence or whatever it is.
But that is if it runs in the direction we assume it is. But
Yeah.
if we get out there and it's a degree or 2 degrees off what we expect
Yeah,
it
but
to be,
you're talking about a 125-year-old survey,
yeah,
and you have about a 3.5-degree change since then anyway.
it's determining how much of the road is on this side, how much is on this side, and that all comes down to that boundary. So we have to survey that boundary.
But because the lot
According to
itself
the
that
laws.
were, the retaining lands, and the whole big lot was surveyed at one time.
It was, yeah, the actual, the sections were surveyed. This was a run line in the original survey. So if there is no.
And that has been
if we-
assumed as being the property line.
Well, if the center of the road, if we can accept the center of the road as the lot line, and then we've done that in other cases, but it's on a case by case basis. And we have to see whether or not that makes sense and is supportable.
I see
legally.
Don in the corner, I'm pretty sure he can make sense out of it.
I'm sure he can.
It's
But
good.
if we can't, then we have to go all the way up to here and it's just
I don't
so
want
expensive.
to ask the impossible there. It's just.
Well, it's the
something
survey
that-
lingo, Norm. It's what we
Yeah.
have to do. It's evidence. That's what we have to go through. We have a hierarchy of evidence we have to go through.
Because,
And then we'll definitely survey out East Road. There's no issue with East Road.
And
If
another,
Morley Road, if we can accept the center line of Morley Road, once we get there and assess it, then we'll comply with the full condition. But if we can't, it's just so costly to go
yeah,
beyond.
I understand.
And
So I don't know. I'll ask I'll let the members there make their decision on that issue.
can I just make one more comment? The reason for the lot
Sure.
addition is because the driveway is in the lot addition for that house.
Mhm. Yeah, he wants to make it a legal entity. Yeah, I fully, I know he's trying to improve the situation, so we don't want to complicate an old issue. What do the members say? Mr. Roger?
I agree with Mr. Goodrich that if it's not possible, as long as they have, like you're saying, the front pegs on East Road, then that way there they have something to work on later on. And then it facilitates, finalizing this and not having to go all the way through.
Mr. Fern?
Yeah, I agree
You
with
agree with-
Roger.
And Mr. Fisher, I don't know where he's gone to.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I'm gonna let this one go.
So are we,
And
so we're,
you can live with that, Madam Planner? Yes?
I just want clarification that we're just asking for the maintained road on East, not on Morley's.
Only to establish as much as they can without going all the way to the North Pole.
That's right.
But we're just gonna deal with the frontage on East Road, not on Morley's, correct? I'm just gonna take it and stay from, instead of traveled road, I'm just gonna say East Road.
Yeah.
East Road only.
So everybody, and you're Mr.
Yeah, I'm Dan Levac.
Oh, okay, you'll be later on.
Yeah, I think so, really, because I bought land and the guy changing his land to me at 54. Yeah. Okay.
Right. Oh, I don't see your name. So is it
No,
is he involved in this transaction?
No.
No.
You're the one getting the land on this one.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh.
Monsieur Levac
Okay.
owns the land that's being added
Oh,
to.
okay.
He's the beneficiary.
So then you're concerned about whatever.
What's going on?
I can see that now.
I'll be honest.
No, I just wanted to make sure that,
No problem, thank you.
but we're stuck with the municipal policy that we have to respect, and Mr. Good. So I think that's about as far as we can legally go, right? And Madame Mélanie.
I'm good with it. I'm good with it.
Okay, so I guess everybody agree, we'll vote in favor, okay. Enough on that one, we'll go to number 6, C 6922, Moose Point Cottage Limited. Could I have a, okay, moved by Mr. Fisher, second by Mr. Fern.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Fern Pellerin. The consent application made by Moose Point Cottages LTD for the creation of a new lot at 207 Moose Point Road in the West Nipissing Municipality is approved in the following conditions: that a reference plan be prepared and deposited, that taxes be paid, the conditions be met by October 18th, 2024, that a transfer be submitted to the municipality, and that the zoning of the severed lands be changed from tourist commercial C3 to rural RU. Through you, Mr. Chair,
Yes.
this property, we have been to Moose Point Lodge a lot in the last couple of years.
Yeah, we seem to like this place.
Well, what has happened, and I'll just recap. So Mr. The owner, and in fact, the sketch doesn't actually reflect everything that he owns. He actually owns this, or he has acquired this property around the edge as well. So that all of this land here does actually have frontage. And these two lots were severed out along with the frontage portions. They were severed out, I think, last year and the year before. This is the remaining land of the tourist camp known as Moose Point Lodge. And this here is mostly the bush. You'll see there's a variety of lines
Yeah.
under here, light. Those
And-
actually are,
Can I say something here?
Sure.
Is Mr. Goodrich doing it on purpose to confuse me by having a map that shows about 5 different access easement?
that's because they're already there.
He cannot wipe any of those off and just keep the
There is,
right one?
that's where I'm getting, Mr. Chair, is there was a condition on the severances for these two that these rights of way need to be straightened out. They have not been, they're still within the condition period, and I know Mr. Goulet is working on the plan that will actually straighten out all these rights of way, provide rights of way to these properties, provide a right of way to this property, and all this other nonsense will be released and abandoned by Mr. Saint Jacques when the once those new plans are registered. Of
Good.
course,
Because we have
Those
3
old red
buildings
right-
that have right of way going across over them, and oh my God.
oh, I know.
This is from a long time ago.
Yeah.
And if you look at some of those rights of way, they're going through some of the buildings.
Well, 3 of them are affected by them.
But that one there is abandoned, but it's not taken off because there's nothing that's gone over top of it. There's one of those that is abandoned.
Yeah, and I think the plan is once the new right of way that provides the direct access out to the bridge is put in place, then anyone that has any rights over those old ones will release and abandon it so that they can be removed.
So then it
from
will be
title.
taken off and we'll have a map that makes sense.
But-
To have a guy like me that gets confused there.
Yeah. And in fact, I'm working, Don got the plan to a certain stage and I'm finishing it up either tonight or first thing tomorrow morning or the
No.
other ones.
You'll be
Another
glad to know, Mr. Chair, there's not as many roads on the ground as there is on the picture.
Yeah, I see that. I prefer the picture than the map that we got in front of us.
So what's gonna happen here is, I don't know, something's missing here. Gotta fix that.
No, there isn't. There's
Yeah, that was-
there's nothing missing there. Continue.
Okay, it's here and here. Anyways,
Yeah.
what's coming out is this portion of the land here.
Hmm.
And together with a small 10-meter strip along here, which will provide access. The retained lands will be the balance of the camp property here.
And I guess once you do the actual survey, the property line won't go over the roof of that building like it shows on the map here.
Actually, it will, but it won't go over the building because the building's going to be moved. Pat's pulling that shed back onto his own property.
Also, he's pulling it away.
He's going to move the building so that.
Okay, because it's a fair sized building, eh?
It is, yeah. So it's a nice shed. He wants to keep the shed, but we had to give enough room to be able to, say, bring a boat with an ATV or something for access
Okay.
down to the water. It's set up specifically so that whoever purchases that back piece will have access to the water. They can put a dock. But we specifically made it only 10 meters wide because the municipal setbacks, I believe, for buildings are 5 meters. So we made sure that if you lay out 5 from here and 5 from here, you can't put a cottage down in that little area. And so we wanted to make sure that it was for access only and not as a building lot with an undersized frontage.
Okay. So that, because you know I have a problem approving a property line going over a building.
Yes.
They're even worse than the crooked line.
Well, we could have a crooked line through the building.
No, keep it straight and move the building. Okay. Anything else to add?
I don't believe so.
And
And there is a minor variance coming for the reduction in the.
The frontage there.
shoreline.
so you're okay with that, Madame Mélanie?
I am indeed.
Okay. I'll call it to a vote. Everyone in favor, as explained, carry. And now we go on to item 7, C70/22. David Matiasi and Nikki Lalick. Oh my God, that's lots of color on this one. Okay, and then a mover and seconder, Mr. Fisher and Mr. Roger.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Raji Gagnon that a consent application made by David Matiasi and Nikki Lalick for a lot addition at 51 Point Road in the municipality of West Nipissing is approved in the following conditions. The reference plan be prepared, that the taxes be paid to date, that the conditions be met before October 18th, 2024, that a transfer deed be registered or be submitted to the Secretary Treasurer, and that a PIN consolidation be registered in the Land Registry Office in order to consolidate the lands being severed to the lands to which they are being added. Through you, Mr. Chair. The
Yes.
purpose of this is a fairly straightforward lot addition. However, I'm just going to bring it up so that you can actually see what's going on here, because these lots are on a very old plan of, very old reference plan. So-
See that.
Yeah, so right now, the property owners that are giving the land own all of the stuff in the blue plus the piece in the red. So this is their whole property here. This wee little part 14 is the recipient lands. It's just a wee tiny little piece of property, and they need a little bit more room because it's really teeny. So they are getting a little piece of this property here and being added on to this property here. And because this lot here is now going to be, it's now being reduced further in terms of lot area, there is a concurrent application for a minor variance to recognize the reduced lot area made but as a result of the lot addition. This actually, the reduction in lot area is while not the best idea, it's for the benefit of a lot that is prohibitively small, which will actually make it much more usable.
So it's an improvement.
It's an improvement to the benefiting lands for sure.
Okay, any added comment, Mr. Goodrich?
Not my file.
No, that's right, sorry about that. We'll take it. Any comments or questions from the members? Hearing none, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor is presented, carry. Now we'll go on to the minor variance section. Okay, Moose Point Cottages again.
Now, this is the second part of the severance application. This is just the, let's move and second the resolution,
Yeah,
then I'll
that's
tell you
right.
the story.
Okay, moved by Mr. Fisher, seconded by Mr. Pellerin.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Fern Pellerin. It resolved that it is the decision of the Committee of Adjustment to approve the variance application made by Moose Point Cottages Limited to reduce the minimum lot frontage from 60 meters to 10 meters for the following reason. Meets the general intent and purpose of the official plan, meets the general intent and purpose of the zoning bylaw, and the variance is considered desirable for the appropriate development of the property. Condition that the severed lands be rezoned from tourist commercial to RU, which is the same condition which is attached to it's actually rural residential. And it's same condition is attached to the severance. So all this, the purpose of this is simply to recognize that frontage there isn't really frontage. It's a 10-meter access point, but nonetheless, because it provides access to water, it has to be recognized as non-conforming and going from 60 meters of required frontage to 10 meters.
Okay, very good. So I think that's well explained. We've already discussed this file inside out. So any comments or questions from the members? Hearing none, I'll call to a vote. Everybody in favor? Carried. Now we'll go on to MV 2022-23, Matiazi and Malik. And the
Over to
mover and
seconder.
seconder, moved by Roger, second by Fern.
Is moved by Roger Gagnon and seconded by Fern Pellerin. Be it resolved that it's the decision of the Committee of Adjustment to approve the variance application made by David Matiazi and Nikki Lalick to reduce the minimum lot area from 0.8 of a hectare to 0.5 of a hectare on an existing legal non-complying lot for the following reasons. Meets the general intent of the official plan and bylaw, and the variance is considered desirable for the development of the property, and the variance is minor in nature. Through you, Mr. Chair, we just discussed this on the previous application. So the lands that are being severed are currently 0.8 of a hectare. They are already below the 1 hectare minimum. So in order to take a piece off of it, we need a minor variance to recognize the further reduced lot area. It's taking that lot down to 0.5 of a hectare, so it's still a little bit bigger than an acre. But as I said before, the benefiting lands are greatly improved by this particular transaction.
So everybody understand that is, we're improving your situation from that now we have 2 lots that can be legally used instead of only one with the other one doing nothing. So I think we're cleaning up an old issue. Okay, everybody in favor? Carry.
Actually, I was going to show you, it's actually easier to see. It's the whole of this part 13 that's being added to the part 14. So the owners here are keeping this part 1, the part 12, and the part 11, and this part 13 goes on to the 14.
Very good. Thank you very much for the added info. Now we go on to MV 2022-24, Michel Savage, North Shore Road. Mover and seconder, Mr. Fisher and Mr. Fern.
It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Fern Pellerin. Be it resolved that it's the decision of the Committee of Adjustment to approve the variance application made by Michel Savage to exempt the property from section 4.2.4 in order to construct an accessory structure before the principal dwelling. For the following reasons, meets the general intent of the official plan, meets the zoning bylaw, the variance is considered minor and it's considered appropriate for the development of the land. Through you, Mr. Chair, this property, unfortunately, when the property was acquired, it had a dwelling on it. However, the owners demolished the dwelling. So now there's no dwelling on it and they want to build a new garage. And now, unfortunately, because there's no dwelling, they have to apply for a minor variance to build the shed before the dwelling.
Can you show the sketch, please?
I can. Up there. So there was a dwelling here-ish,
On the bottom.
It's the one to the south on the water.
one here. It was demolished. And no, there is no longer a dwelling on the property to meet the bylaw requirement that you can't build a shed before the dwelling in the residential zone. So that is why we are here today, because they want to build, the dwelling that was there wasn't really being lived in, it was being used for storage in any event, but it was assessed as a dwelling.
No,
And-
that's the original cottage, Melanie.
Yeah, which this one here?
Bottom, yes, that's the original cottage that was built back in 19 whatever. The back
what was-
part, that was the storage area.
So both are gone now?
Yeah,
Okay, and we're
So they're-
building a new one.
Yeah.
So there's
well,
no
that little,
buildings on
that,
it.
they're building that little orange thing there.
Okay, this is the new construction.
Yeah,
In any event, the bylaw says that you can't have an accessory structure without a dwelling. And in this case, you're requesting exemption from this. We did one last month, I think, on Goegan Road for the same sort of purpose.
Can I ask you something on that issue? I have no problem. Is there a time-lapse approval on these, or?
I don't
you have
understand
to
the question.
obtain or submit an application for a residential building within, let's see, 2 year, 3 year, whatever?
There's nothing in the bylaw that requires that, no.
Nothing in the bylaw required, so we don't address it. Okay.
Typically,
We
that's
can,
done for
the
garages
bylaw's
as
looking to
opposed
be updated
sheds.
next year. We can do it.
And in this case too, they could have left the original cottage up. They wouldn't have needed the minor variance period. But the old cottage is full of mold. The old storage building was full of mold. Mike's grandkids come to the site. They actually stay in a trailer on it right now, but they needed somewhere for their, the paddles, life jackets,
Yeah,
things
yeah.
like that.
A good clean place.
Exactly, and it just wasn't safe for the kids with the old cottage there, so that's why it got torn down.
I agree. Any question from the members? Any comment? We've heard.
No problem with that. There was 2 buildings there before, so.
Yeah, and they were very much smaller, further from the lake, all of the above.
Okay, so hearing no other comments, I'll call to a vote. Everybody in favor as presented? Carry. Okay, and now we are doing something you just, do you need another resolution number?
I just am looking at my agenda and I'm trying to see, I see Mr. Dorland is here and I think, was there an application missed off of this agenda?
Because
I believe so, yeah.
I'm just gonna take a quick peek and see whether or not it was circulated and it just might have got missed off the agenda. If you just give me a half a second, because I saw you there and I thought, oh, what are we getting to his application?
Question?
Uh, It was a minor variance, eh?
We have a page 46.
Yeah, I'm just going to the,
2022-20.
yeah. Dash 20? Yes, it
That's
looks like it's, yeah, I think she missed putting it on the agenda. So we will address it. I'm going to add it as an addendum because that's just an oversight on our part. MV 2022-20. I can wing it. So we'll address it with your permission, Mr. Chair, once we're finished
Sure.
with this one.
Sure, no problem.
Okay, so let's address this one. It is also an application for a minor variance, and I am going to bring up the the picture on the screen. It was circulated and there was no concerns or comments from any of the neighbors. It just simply got overlooked putting it on the agenda, and I do apologize. That's entirely my fault. There's lots going on right now. So the application, I'm going to pull it up and I'll show you what we're dealing with here. Oh, she even prepared the planning summary sheet and everything. She just forgot to upload all the stuff into the agenda. But I'm the one who checks it, so I'm absolutely at fault here. So I'm going to share my screen so that you can see it. Okay, so what is being sought here? So this property is located on Bay Street. To get yourself oriented. This lot would be one of the lots that was severed out of the westerly portion of the old SRI property. For those who've been on the committee for a while, you'll recall that the Sturgeon River Inn property was severed. The portion where the hotel was subsequently subdivided into 10 townhouse lots. And then there were 3 residential lots created to the west of that property. So it's sandwiched between the 10 townhouse lots and the municipal pumping station for the sewage plant, which is just over here to the west. So this would be the middle of the 3 lots that were created. And you'll see that the property has quite a significant drop at the back, and the property moves, it gets steep very quickly. In order to accommodate the dwelling that's proposed to be built, what is being requested is a reduction in the front yard setback here from 6 meters to 3.4 meters. And you will recall that we did have an amendment to the zoning bylaw for the townhouse development just next door for the exact same reason. The front yards were reduced in order to accommodate for the steepness of the slope to the river.
Yeah,
So
if I
what is
remember
being sought
correctly,
here?
They were reduced to 1 car length, eh?
Yes, they're 3 meters. So just a little bit less than what's being requested here. So this is the request for this property, is to reduce the front yard setback from 6 meters to 3.4 meters to accommodate this new build on Bay Street.
That makes sense. You understand, everybody understand that?
Have they started, Mel, on this project?
I think there's a hole in the ground, or that, well, maybe that's the next door
Right.
property. Yeah. No, there's the next door. There's a foundation built on the property to the west of that one.
And it's,
Okay, so there is one underway.
Yep.
Yes, Don.
there's one, and it's farther back. It's towards the river quite a bit more.
Well, you'll see the way the ground slopes, so they've got more depth on this property than this one. And as it goes up, the land gets,
Well, they created
Really,
a walkout.
the bank,
Really
the bank moves up.
So the house that's already started, is it on part 3
I believe so.
and not part 5?
No, it's on part 3.
Okay. Then after part 3 is the municipal pumping station.
That's correct.
Okay. I know exactly.
You know exactly where you are,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, that's fine. And then part 5, is part 5 part of the townhouse?
No, that's one more. That's one lot. The
There's another
townhouses
lot.
are
There's an
on
empty
the
lot.
next lot.
Okay,
The subdivision starts on the next lot to the west.
okay, all right.
You got this, you seem to have questions, Mr. Fern.
I understand, but I'm not sure, I'm not sure I agree with. If you look at the proposed steps, there's 3.4 meters to the road.
Mhm.
There's not a whole lot left for a park a car. Okay, the garage is on the other side.
Oh, and I believe there's 4 meters.
4 meters, so.
But we already approved to the east of it,
Uh-huh.
only at, I believe at 3 meter.
I know, but these got a way more space to stretch out the house or whatever. And I'm just saying, like how is that working for the snow removal where they build all those condos? No problem?
You know that.
It's privately, their lots, their driveways are privately maintained by a contractor. But the road, I have never heard any issues on Bay Street.
Well, when I live in Sudbury, I had to pay a truck to clean up my driveway. There was no place to dump it. And I could not dump it on the neighbor, so. That's part, I guess.
Like that. That's where I.
Hey?
Same way, you're right. Because I was in Toronto and.
Yeah, it costs money. Snow removal is a. So any question, Mr. Fisher?
No, I'm good. It seems to me that it's just in keeping with the neighborhood and we should let it go. Thank you.
Okay, so any other question or comments? So everybody comfortable to approve it? Okay.
Just gonna,
Carry.
and I
Yeah.
apologize, Mr. Dorland, that was entirely our oversight, and sorry for the unorthodox way of dealing with your file.
Oh, you're still my favorite. That's no problem at all.
Oh, thanks. I'm just gonna, I just got this up here. I'm just gonna show
Oh,
it.
sorry,
So-
Madam Melanie. We have approved it, but I don't think we have a proposer or seconder for that motion, do we?
Yeah, I better make a note of that.
So I volunteer Mr. Fern and Mr. Roger.
And the conditions of approval are the same as any other, so they're, just so
Right.
that everybody's comfortable, what the lot we're talking about is right here.
Correct.
Yeah.
It's good.
And then there's this one, and then there's the pump stations over here, so the townhouses are right along here, and you'll see how the slope comes up.
Yeah.
It gets real tight in this area, so, and you'll see these ones here are sitting, as is this house, they're all sitting fairly close to the road based on the topography and the lay of the land in this area. As you get farther down to the west, the slope gets a lot more gradual, but it's pretty wicked in here.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much for all the information. So we
Okay.
have one issue left, and that is, oh no,
We
we still
have-
have to deal with Mr. Daniel Giroux.
We have two issues.
Yeah, we still have 2 items.
Yes, so the items under 5.3 would be an amending application to the application that we heard last year from Monsieur Daniel Giroux. Monsieur Giroux was seeking at the time a lot addition and a new lot on some property in River Valley. So what has happened is that Mr. Giroux, number one, council has elected to convey the piece of the property that he had originally requested a right-of-way over. Council has elected to convey that property to him. The file is currently in abeyance because of the lame duck council situation, but will be completed as soon as we are back in business in a month or so. But that will carry on. The application, what he's asking to do is he's upsizing both of the lots that were previously approved. So I'm just going to pull it up here so that members can see what's being requested here. There's all my windows. Where's my windows? Some days.
But that's the one where the municipality is selling him the road
That's
allowance.
correct.
Or
That
Yeah,
is
yeah.
correct, and I'm just having a moment here with my multiple windows open here.
That's right at the end of the boo, huh?
I gotta
Yes.
close a few windows here so that I can
Yeah,
actually
because
bring some
Legault
other stuff up.
Legault wasn't reaching down to the property.
That is absolutely
Turn
correct.
that,
So the
would belong
portion
the
of,
other road, Bradley Street.
Yeah,
the portion of Legault Street is being conveyed to Mr. Giroux. And he's increasing the size of both the severance for the new lot and for the severance and for the lot addition severance.
Mhm. Okay, so I'll need a mover and a seconder for that motion, I believe. Moved by Mr. Fisher, seconded by Mr. Roger.
Yes. It is moved by Chris Fisher and seconded by Raji Gagnon. Whereas by resolution number 2021-100, the Committee of Adjustment approved the creation of a new lot and a lot addition for property described as part of Block B, Plan 36M257 in the Township of Crerar. And whereas the owner has requested an encroachment agreement from the West Nipissing Municipality for access to the severed lands. However, Council for the West Nipissing Municipality has agreed in principle to convey a portion of Legault Street to the owner for access, subject to the parties entering into an agreement of purchase and sale and the completion thereof. And whereas the proponent has further requested to increase the size of both the new lot and the lot addition previously approved, be it therefore resolved that the Committee of Adjustment approves the requested changes to the provisional consent pursuant to Section 5323 of the Planning Act on the following conditions: that a reference plan be prepared and deposited, taxes be paid, that conditions be met before on October 18th, 2024, that a transfer deed be submitted, that the applicant acquire the portion of the unopened road allowance known as Legault Street, that a PIN consolidation be prepared and filed for the land shown as Part 3 on the attached sketch, and pursuant to Section 5325, that notice of the change of conditions be given to the applicant and any other body having requested notice.
So everybody's clear on that? Any question, comments? Hearing none, I'll call it to a vote. Everybody in favor? Carry. And now we're going to the last one, a change condition by Mr. Audit Shaw for Edward Street, Cashby.
And this one, through you, Mr. Chair, this one is, this was actually heard at the last meeting and through just too much going on and another oversight, we missed the fact that Greater Sudbury Utilities had requested an easement on the property. I have reviewed it. There is existing hydro infrastructure on the property for which the easement, Don?
Yes, Mr. We don't
You're on
hear you.
mute.
Oh, turn your volume on.
I am, no, it's not, sorry, hit the wrong one. What happens if the poles aren't on the property?
Hydro has requested the easement notwithstanding.
Well, if their poles are in your, on the street, why would we give them an easement?
I have been requested by Hydro to obtain the easement as I have on a number of other applications. That is their policy to request a 3-meter or 4-meter easement, depending on whether it's residential or industrial property, on all residential severances in their service areas.
In this particular instance, the person did not need a reference plan of survey for this severance because there already was one on title. If we have to create parts for an easement that really isn't required, it's a great expense to our client. And all it does is encumber his land unnecessarily. We think it sets a dangerous precedent and really should not be. If there is hydro infrastructure located on the property, we'd be more than happy to accommodate their request. But without a real need, a demonstrated need for the easement, I don't think it should be approved.
Okay. So this is your client. Would it be proper, Mrs. Melanie, that we defer the issue, and if the consultant want to negotiate with Hydro and get a release? Because they've put a request in writing that they want an easement. So we are kind of.
It doesn't necessarily mean you have to grant their request.
I-
They're asking for easements, and we've done this, and we were turning them down, and then the municipality decided to play nice with them and grant these
That
easements.
there is hydro infrastructure.
If there's hydro infrastructure. And in this case, at the north end of the property where the pole is, it then goes kitty corner across the street to the far side of the street on, and I forget the name, it's Anderson and what's the other street? Sorry, Edward. And I believe it's on Anderson Street that it runs kitty corner. And then the same thing, it only comes across the front of the property within the road, and then once again, cuts kitty corner across to the other side of the street. So there may be an anchor pole perhaps on Monsieur Odette's property, maybe, but there aren't hydro lines and hydro poles. They're within the municipal road allowance. And this was on a registered plan of subdivision that the lots were originally created. Hydro has been a little bit reluctant to work with us on easements recently and you know, claiming that it sets dangerous precedents. So we think the same thing goes here. If and then there really isn't a need for an easement in that location. And at such time
But do the line, are they all over street property or are they over private property?
well, that's the thing, when you look on the Google map images, it appears that they would be within the 66-foot road allowance, where they have a blanket easement already in place with the municipality for their infrastructure. And then in this case,
That's what I
the
wanted to
streets
say.
are, yeah, if I can.
Yes.
Once
This is the
again,
property. The severance is along this side of the property.
yeah, there's already an existing reference plan that splits the land, so we weren't planning on going out to do a survey. You can see the shadow right here, there's a pole, clearly within the street. And then from here, it actually cuts kitty corner to a pole over here and going up, I guess this is Anderson. Correct me if I'm wrong, I think this is Edward, this is Anderson. But you can just see the shadow of the pole here. And then this goes up to this pole up in this wherever it is here. And then it cuts kitty corner across the street. What they're asking for is 3 meters down here, 3 meters all the way down here. We're saying why?
It does make sense.
And
It has, it's unfortunately, it has, as you saw in the lady on Second Street, it's become, they're asking for a 3-meter easement on any properties within their service area, Greater Sudbury Utilities.
But if there's no.
But
if
it's a
there's no
dangerous
infrastructure-
precedent. Are we expecting to do the same for Bell, even though there's no Bell lines in the area? Are we expected to do the same thing for Union Gas, even though Union Gas has their pipe in the road? Like I say, it sets a dangerous precedent.
Is there any, do they see any problem servicing that lot with the power?
No, there's poles there,
On either
like to
side?
the existing house and the one to the south, there's a pole on the south side. So I can't see there being a need for an easement just to service that particular lot. There's already existing infrastructure that can accommodate that within the municipal road. And we can double check to prove that it's within the municipal road, but just to create an easement for the sake of creating an easement, because maybe at some point in time, Greater Sudbury Hydro may locate lines there 50 years in the future. You know, they can do like every other utility, and they can come and purchase the easement rights at that point in time.
Basically, what Carrera is doing there is just drawing a line down the middle of a lot and making 2 lots out of it.
Well, we're not even drawing them, the line's already there. The reference plan already exists, but he owned both parts on the plan.
Okay, so we're just, okay,
So
It's a
there
technical
is a need
severance.
for a survey on this particular severance consent, because we're using the existing survey that exists.
okay, then that changed my point of view. We're not surveying anything.
No.
We're just approving something that already exists, like it just, the both lot got tied together
Yep.
and we're separating it just to To whom?
And if they could prove that their poles were actually located on the property, that would be a different story. You know, then we would create an easement to.
Yeah, but if there are poles on your property, Ontario Hydro pays for the easement.
Typically, yes, but this
No, I
is,
got-
this is Greater Sudbury Utilities, a little different.
I
story.
got paid by Ontario Hydro because they had to put a couple of braces on my property to hold up their line. And
Yeah,
they
the plan-
measured it and they paid me.
Yeah, and to be fair to Greater Sudbury Utilities, the Planning Act does allow them to ask for these, but to me, there has to be a demonstrated need.
Correct.
If they're planning on putting a new line down that side of the street and locating the poles on the property or wanting to be able to clear, that's one thing. But in this case, they're just doing this for future rights, but they're encumbering everybody's property in the meantime.
Yeah, no, I don't. I see what you're getting at.
I cannot support that.
So you, and Fern, no way, and Mr. Fisher?
No, I
What's
think
your-
Mr. Goodrich has made a compelling argument. I won't support it.
Okay, so it is, so I guess we have to tell Sudbury Hydro that due to the circumstances, we cannot approve the hearing. If they don't agree, they can appeal our decision to.
So what about if there is existing, what if there's a determination that there is infrastructure on the property?
But we're
Then
not
we'd be happy to give them a 3-meter easement around that or
So
as.
we can service it, yeah.
Yeah, usually if it's an anchor, we go 1.5 meters on either side. If it's a pole line, we would go 3 meters either side. So if their infrastructure is on the property, we'd be happy to grant them the easement.
Yeah, but it
So-
shouldn't be.
Yeah.
But
So,
it shouldn't
so
be
instead of
the
granting a 3-meter
But
frontage
that's
easement,
just
we're
where
at,
it's located, not over the entire piece.
Can I say something?
Yes.
This is a technical severance.
Hmm.
We're not going out in the field.
doesn't matter. If there's infrastructure on the property, Hydro has the right to have an easement for it.
But why can't
But
you
they
just tell
haven't
them it's?
proven it.
Yeah, they haven't proven
they
it.
haven't. Oh, so
Sorry,
sorry,
Paul.
Don.
No, you go
The
ahead.
onus is on Greater Sudbury Hydro to prove that their facility is located on my client's property, not the
You
other way
guys are mad at
around.
Hydro right now.
You think?
We're not mad at Hydro.
We're not, we just
not
want the
mad.
same rules to apply.
Yes,
So would you be amenable to having the condition amended to be a 3-meter easement where, Don, stop shaking your head, you're not the
I'm
boss of
saying
this.
no, we're not, no. No, if they
What
want to
if
know
there
where it
is-
is, they can come and hire us to do it.
Okay, we have Fern,
Yeah, if there's something like that to be done, like Don said, it shouldn't be at the owner's cost,
That's
for
correct.
sure.
So let me ask you guys a question. They're asking for these on all severances inside their service area and have been for the last couple of years. You'll recall we had one a couple of years ago at the bakery across the street where they wanted a 4-meter easement, which would have put them into the middle of the living room of the property. And they're asking for them blanket, regardless of whether there's poles or infrastructure or not. We have to take a position.
Exactly.
Yes,
So we're just gonna say under this circumstance, we're not, it doesn't,
the sense it's just a technical.
yeah. Like you were saying, Mel, if you say that only a severance will be accepted around a pole just to have access to it, that's different, but not across the whole lot.
But my point is are we dumping the easement in its entirety? Or are we saying we'll give an easement if it's necessary for something that is actually there, but only as much as is needed? I'm just looking for clarification on whether we're just saying no, flat out no to everything, or maybe.
Or do we write it? Yeah, I understand her point of view.
So, Mr. Fisher, what do you have to say on this?
So this got complicated quick. So, yeah, my feeling is that, I mean, you know, it says a field check. I'm a bit confused. The letter says it field checks, and to me, that kind of means you went and had a look, but then it says, if there are existing anchors, well, didn't you look? I don't quite get it. So, I agree with Melanie on the point that if they've got infrastructure on the property, then we grant them an easement around that and not blanket easements across the whole property. But then on the other side of it, I also agree with the consultants that let Hydro One prove it, the homeowner should. Thanks.
So.
I
Mr.
still have no
So I have
direction,
two,
guys.
one way there, so I need like a consensus here.
No, I'm just gonna repeat, like, if it's needed to go to a pole, but it's still, the poles are usually on
On the property line.
the property line or inside the street. So
Mhm.
if there's a case, then Hydro should come back
Yes.
to us. It's got nothing to do with the landowner.
Mhm.
So we shouldn't even deal with that.
Correct.
It's a tough call, but it's time that somebody takes a stand. Sorry, guys, if they're asking for easements all over, this is going to the actual client, to the person that's trying to do something. While there's no reason, like, if the infrastructure's there, I understand, but a lot of times the infrastructure is not there.
Mhm.
And we quite often will identify it when we do the sketch, and we'll propose an easement as part of the presentation. But for them to come back after the fact and ask for this, if the
Well, they
client had
didn't
been
come
a
back
little
after the
quicker.
fact.
No, they
I
didn't come
missed
back
it on the
out.
first application.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
good-
but we're already past the 20-day appeal period. If the client had just simply gone ahead and transferred the land already, that they wouldn't even have the right to even make the request. And then if it was missed, it was missed, but so be it. But I still don't think it's a valid request.
I think with this one here is, it's because there is no survey work involved. And that's the kicker to it, because now we have to go out, prove everything again, which goes to the cost of the client for only Sudbury Hydro.
Yeah, like we're not creating a new lot, we're just confirming an existing situation.
Yeah.
Okay, so I get the feeling that we don't support their thing at all.
No.
No
No,
support.
no
whatsoever.
support? Defeated?
Hey?
Are we defeating the
Yeah,
resolution?
defeated, yeah.
Fair enough.
And we'll live with the consequences if there's any.
We'll back you up.
Oh, no, I don't care. It's on you guys.
No. The consequences will be for the next committee of adjustments.
Yeah, correct.
Unfortunately, I'll still be here.
Oh, you're catching on, Mr. Fisher.
You guys are funny. Okay, and so we're moving to the end of the meeting, and we spoke at all of you were at the previous meeting. If there is anything urgent, we will bring it forward, and I do mean urgent. I'm hoping to have a new committee in place for December, at some point in December. There's the swearing in is earlier this time than in the past. It's in November, so, God willing and the creek don't rise, we should have our committees in place by the first week of December. So right now, we'll just adjourn the meeting.
Good. Okay, so, Roger and Fern, mover and seconder to adjourn. And next meeting to be on call.
Yeah, and we've told our clients it's likely January for the next meeting.
What?
Try to.
Sorry,
Give us
Paul.
a Christmas break.
And I just hope for the sake of everybody that I get to see all of you again, in whether you're members of council or whether you're volunteer members. I'd like to see all of you back here because you've been a really great committee to work with. And
Thank you
I'm,
very much.
yeah, I'd be
And as
very
chair of
happy
this
to.
committee,
So,
I
you know,
thank the
For those,
members.
for those running for council who may or may not be successful, then there's always volunteer positions and we always need volunteers.
Good selling point there.
And we need,
You're
we
good.
need
I'll second
volunteers
that and
with
nominate Don for the committee.
No, sorry, he's in conflict, but we do need volunteers and it's especially nice to work with, especially if we have new council members, it would be nice to have veteran volunteers to help. That's just a little push. Push, push. Hint, 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 not so subtle.
Hey, Roger.
So everybody, good night. Thank you.
And before we close the thing down, thank you to all the members for the last 4 years. Been very enjoyable, nice group of people to work with, and I really appreciate it. And I wish you the best in the future. Thank you. Good night.
Same to you.